on the outside looking in, and I wanna be back on the inside. I don't wanna be left on the outside, all alone. All alone.
With beats, discussing the heat in the streets. Take over the west and the east. I got what you need, a dose of this vitamin G. You rockin' with beats, discussing the heat in the streets. Take over the west and the east. I got what you need, a dose of this vitamin G. You rockin' with beats, discussing the heat in the streets. Take over the west and the east. I got what you need, a dose of this vitamin G. Rockin' with beats, discussing the heat in the streets. I got what you need, a dose of this vitamin G. You rockin' with beats, discussing the heat in the streets.
On the outside looking in, and I wanna be back on the inside. I don't wanna be left on the outside, all alone.
Vitamin J, got what you need. Vitamin J, got what you need.
All alone.
Vitamin J. Discussing that heat in the street, and we got just what you need on Vitamin G. You rockin' with beats, discussing the heat in the streets. Take over the west and the east. I got what you need, a dose of this vitamin G. You rockin' with beats, discussing the heat in the streets. Take over the west and the east. I got what you need, a dose of this vitamin G. You rockin' with beats, discussing the heat in the streets. Take over the west and the east. I got what you need, a dose of this vitamin G. Rockin' with beats, discussing the heat in the streets. I got what you need, a dose of this vitamin G. You rockin' with beats, discussing the heat in the streets. Got what you need, a dose of this vitamin G. You rockin' with beats, discussing the heat in the streets. Take over the west and the east. I got what you need, a dose of this vitamin G. Vitamin G.
I'm on the outside looking in, and I wanna be back on the inside. On the outside looking in, and I wanna be back on the inside. I don't wanna be left on the outside, all alone.
Vitamin J, got what you need. Vitamin J, got what you need.
All alone.
Vitamin J. Ay. Rockin' with beats, discussing the heat in the streets. Take over the west and the east. I got what you need, a dose of this vitamin G. You rockin' with beats, discussing the heat in the streets. Take over the west and the east. I got what you need, a dose of this vitamin G. You rockin' with beats, discussing the heat in the streets. Take over the west and the east. I got what you need, a dose of this vitamin G. Rockin' with beats, discussing the heat in the streets. I got what you need, a dose of this vitamin G. You rockin' with beats, discussing the heat in the streets.
I'm on the outside looking in, and I wanna be back on the inside. I don't wanna be left on the outside, all alone.
Vitamin J, got what you need. Vitamin J, got what you need.
All alone.
Vitamin J. already know how I'm coming, man. Tryna run the town. Tell no duck when they hear that sound. How they gon' come up now? Heavy as the head that'll wear that crown. I'm going pound for pound. And if it's about smoke, then we talk all of that. From an ounce to a pound. Shake it, they biting this now. Cause my drip right up the seat. How could they be? Give me a couple of rounds. Cause I'm a beast when I'm on vitamin G. You see they start crumbling now. Mad struck, start mumbling now. Get the gist, I ain't reaching for cloud. Plot twist, I'm the one with the keys. Clock glitz, know they look how I freeze. Different continents, I be torn. We living life, making yours look boring. See, we win at the end, it's a spoiler warning. Cause I keep heating up, I might blow the whole planet. They calling me toxic like global warming. But they keep tuning in once again and again. I'm the one at the top, just to form a warning. Truly, I'm De Niro when it come to movies. Get De Niro, entertain the groupies. Habanero if you come pursue me. But I hop on the game, too busy rolled up whenever my girl getting moody. Link up with the gang, we all go insane. Catching them bills on the duty. I'm in Stixie, I'm locked in. Bought a box, I was like 10. Back then, used to box, nowadays they ain't throwing hands. Mama said we got more advanced. One thing about me, I adapt, bought a Glock fin. Keep me safe from the block in. The game kept me off the block. Ain't got flex about looting my Ruger. I can shit on you with my computer. See my graphics card costs more than your damn job can afford to pay you. And my monitor, big as hell, detail, so I can see when I spray you. To reload the clip and record the clip is go all say to that SSD. Know a whole lot of trill game heads like me wanna see tuned into that VGP. Take over the west and the east, and we got just what you need on vitamin G.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to episode 218 of the Vitamin G podcast. I have with me today, Dero and Jube. And how's it going with you two guys today?
I am doing absolutely well, sir. No complaints. As always, working through games. Still waiting for that big date. We got 2 weeks away from, I believe, with Mario Wonder and then Spider-Man 2.
Well,
So I'm
Spider-Man 2 is
excited.
Friday, right?
It's-
Or Spider-Man 2 is this week.
No, so they're both on the 20th.
Spider-Man
I-
2 is next week, Friday.
Yeah.
I could have swore it came out this week.
Nope, the
Um,
20th.
Yeah.
Okay. That's interesting to come out kind of late in the month. But it kind of pushes you closer into the holiday window, so yeah. All right, so. And how about you, Jube? Things going good with you?
Yep, I'm here. Just sleepy, but alright. We cool.
What you guys been playing? I know we got the new Forza. I'm sure Jube may have touched that. But Zero, what have you been playing?
Yeah, I want to hear.
Man, I was supposed to finish Stars this past week. Just could not
Sea of Stars, right?
finish Sea of Stars. Excuse me, yeah, finish Stars. Finish Sea of Stars this past week. I just could not get the time to finish it out. So I've been mostly just playing Phoenix Wright, the great Ace Attorney detective. It's fantastic, man. I keep saying it again. Like I love a good visual novel, and Phoenix Wright is definitely sort of the best of them all. Probably next to the Nonary games, which Nappy has mentioned before, like 999, or maybe Danganronpa.
Now, did
That's
something inspire you to
honestly
jump
been-
back into Phoenix? Or I know you had that for a while.
So the announcement of when Xbox announced that they were getting the other ones. So I have both the original Phoenix Wright trilogy,
Mhm.
and then I have the newest game, the Great Ace Attorney Chronicles, which effectively takes place in like Sherlock Holmes times, if you will, in England and Japan. So it's like sort of that energy, but it's the newest of the series. So it's like drastically different. It's not Phoenix because it takes
Yeah.
place before it. So the Xbox thing made me think about it. It's like it's finally I need to crack open the saran wrap because it's the first game I've ever had that's been saran wrap because for so long. 'Cause that game came out last year
Yeah.
and I never played it. So I was like, time to play these games, man. So let's get up, let's get them done. Other than that, Apex, I love a good shooting game. But that's about it.
It's
I feel bad when I finish Sea of Stars. I'm gonna try to push real hard to finish Final Fantasy 16 before the 20th.
okay. Yeah, you need to do that. It's a really good story, so you should definitely finish that up. But
Yeah,
it is
it's
amazing
not
how.
through.
Oh, go ahead.
Just like I'm just trying to work. I just got caught up with a whole bunch of other stuff. I do
Man,
like the game.
I mean that type of game where Final Fantasy 16 where it sends you on all these different quests and you don't know what's important and what's not. It makes it harder to finish a game when you got a lot going on. So I mean, understandable. Um, but yeah, I was gonna say it's amazing how like a Game Pass announcement just breathes life back into certain games that people they own it, or even if they didn't own it, even if they're not on the platform, because you don't own an Xbox, but it kind of brings people back to the game. Kind of saw that with Outriders. Like Outriders looked DOA and then gets announced in Game Pass and everyone's playing it everywhere. So yeah, that's pretty cool to see that announcement kind of took you back to a game that you kind of forgot about. But yeah, Jube, what have you been playing?
I have that. Bro.
I can't really hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, so I dabbled with the intro to Forza.
Okay.
I'm still trying to decide what visual mode I want to play that in. So that's probably not really going to get touched until I move next week.
Okay.
So
I haven't touched it yet. I did buy, the edition to play it early and all that, but
premium, yeah.
yeah,
I like how like they're not just throwing cars at you like Horizon did. Like it's like you'll get like a car a month kind of thing,
yeah.
and then it's like it's going to make you shit like Um, pro tip: if you are going to do like the circuit races after you have your build and you do your races, you can actually refund like you can take off the parts that you like. If you're using a specific car for like race series, when that series is done, you can take off all the parts off that car and refund it, get your points back. That way you can fund your next car for your next circuit. So
Kind of
definitely,
stubborn. Once I build a car and it races just how I like it, I don't like to touch it. Like leave it alone.
but sometimes depending on the series, like if you're racing in class, that car might not be viable. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like
yeah. I understand that. I understand that, but I'm kind of hard headed with that.
I got you. I'm just saying, as you work your way up through the different classes, like
Yeah.
just remember you can refund those parts to fund your next.
Yeah.
Well,
That's cool. That's cool. You been playing anything else? I know you got a lot going on, so it's just been Forza at this point.
Forza. I need to get back in the Starfield. I did try the new update for Redfall. It's a much better time. Like I dropped like a couple hours in that, didn't even realize a couple hours had passed, kind of thing. Like
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't fighting the controls or the game to play it. There's shit there's more enemies and shit in the world. Like it doesn't feel as empty. And that
Okay.
60 frames is like it's a game changer for that. I toggled between the two because you don't have to like quit the game to do it. It's like yikes. that 30 that 30 FPS cap was garbage in comparison to what we have now. And like even graphically, like there's really not that much difference between the performance mode and the quality mode. At least not that I can see. Like the textures are actually loading. It's great. I had a textureless gun like for like the 22 hours I'm putting into this game, and I finally get to see the damn textures on the fucking gun as of this update. So
Yeah, that's cool. It's
good.
cool. All right. So with that being our intros, we got a light panel. Before we jump into our topics, there are a couple quick hitters that I wanted to hit on without actually giving like the full attention to make it actual topic. Just kind of get some quick thoughts. So rapid fire, Jubei and Zero. We're gonna hit on the Unity CEO stepping down. Pretty much a couple weeks after he that company's stock with his announcement that they were gonna charge developers per download of any game using the Unity engine. So quick rapid fire, just give me quick thoughts on that. I'll kick it off with Zero.
I mean, I had just sort of heard about the Unity issue, maybe like last week or so, or maybe it was this week. Um, this has to be the reason. This has to be in part the reason why he was gone, right? Like, what a
Yeah, it has to be because I mean there was
yeah,
no
like
indication that he was gonna be, you know,
ousted in any way, and like, sort
yeah,
of what a horrifying decision to decide on. Like, why? In what world is that okay?
well,
So he'll be out of here with his golden parachute as they always are, but this might have been the best move because I can't imagine this would have been this would have tanked them. It would have been over, right? Like
yeah, he was at EA formerly.
it's insane.
He's always had aggressive monetization strategies.
I'm
So
glad this is one of the ones that backfired, and at least it is a lesson to someone somewhere, at least within Unity, saying like we might be able to do some things, but we can't get away with everything.
yeah, so yeah. So with that being said, Jube, your thoughts on the Unity CEO stepping down?
Oh, I mean, he fucked around and found out. Like, I mean, I get it. He's trying to make a dollar for his company, but like literally, he had the complete opposite effect. Like,
Yeah,
it's just like what a really stupid like idea. Like the fuck, what the fuck? Like when you got devs that don't really say shit publicly outside of hey, got a new update for our game, and they're bashing you and cursing you out, you fucked up. Like
yeah.
you really fucked up. So I'm not surprised he's not retiring. He is. I'm pretty sure they're here are these severance papers.
All
I
right.
mean, I don't even know if that's even enough to salvage this because I mean that just left a bad taste in a lot of people's mouths. So there's still a lot of work for people that still work at Unity to do.
I I just I hate that it left a lot of people in limbo. Developers like they started moving on to different engines once they heard this announcement. Now this guy is ousted. Like kind of leaves those guys in limbo.
If I mean not gone, I don't think they're gonna go back.
Yeah. Well, I
This is
think
one
they'll
of those
go
ones
back
where
now
it's
that
like,
he's gone. I think now that he's gone, I think it'll give developers some confidence.
Yeah, but it's not about principle. You know what I mean? Like, show you this is what the fuck's gonna
Yeah,
happen.
you
Try
kind
to
of go
fuck
in and
this.
out a little bit.
All right, is that better?
Yeah,
Yeah. No, like it's more so the principle. You know, like they're. I hope the people involved take this to heart and realize like you're not just gonna fuck people over
yeah.
and get away with it, especially on that scale. Like Unity is an extremely popular engine. Like outside of Unreal, it's like
Especially on mobile, Unity is very popular for mobile games.
oh, absolutely.
So my quick thoughts on it is that we've seen a lot of CEOs who have not had their best years be swiftly removed in some form or fashion this year. Whether it be the Square Enix CEO, I think he started the beginning of the year. He's out. And we had the recent Jim Ryan retirement. We're going to take it at face value, but I mean he had a rough year and now he's out. One way or another. And then we have now this Unity guy. So seems like there's a lot of pressure on these CEOs right now with the current state of gaming. Because they're not really surviving adversity at the moment. I don't think the shareholders are really willing to take a lot of risk here with their CEOs at the moment. But with that being said, we'll move on to the next rapid fire. Um, Redfall. It started off Friday morning with some criticism from a very popular news outlet about no updates. And then a mere couple hours later, its biggest patch release with a 60 frames per second update, along with a slew of other added features that improved the gameplay experience across the board. Basically, made it a whole new game almost. Um, so as someone who jumped in and played it right away, I'm gonna grab Jubei's opinion first on kind of the interesting Friday that Redfall had.
Yeah. Here's the thing. IGN knew that this was going to happen. They can't. If they didn't have a source saying that that update was coming today, they're a trash organization. So, it's just kind of really stupid to post that article and like 2 hours later, like, hey, this update's live. Like, and then it still took them forever to even update the article or freaking take it down. Y'all are dicks. Like, I get like it's a slow news week outside of Activision, but um, for you to really post that knowing that this update was going to happen and then
I don't think they
drag your
knew.
feet as
I
far
don't
as
think the writer knew.
oh
I don't. Maybe someone in
somebody
IGN knew.
and somebody there still had to okay this.
Yeah,
Somebody knew.
I do think there was a lack of journalistic I won't say integrity.
And
I think there's just a lack of journalistic work taking place when you don't reach out to the developer about the status of the game before making that type of article.
Yeah.
That'll be my only take on it. And not Jubei, Zero. What are your thoughts on Redfall's Interesting Friday? Oh, but you did.
I
Hold
mean,
on one
nothing
second. Hold on, give me 1 second. Jubei, you played it though, right?
Yes, sir.
Impressions, real quick, of the new update.
Impressions.
Yeah.
Had this game launched like this update plays, it probably would have squeaked an 80.
Okay. All right. So it is a major improvement.
It is a drastic improvement. Like, is it perfect? No, but it's a great ass first step in the right direction.
Okay.
Like maybe 1-2 more E's, it's ball game. Like it's at that point I can say it's a good game.
All right.
Like it has good foundation. They just wasn't enough enemies. Fucking performance sucked. Like texture shit. Like it was just a collection of things. Like, and also finding things in the world. Like you literally had to look. Like nothing got highlighted. Like if it was like a book or something that you could pick up to read the lore or like anything, it wasn't highlighted. That shit's highlighted now. Like why the fuck wasn't that highlighted at launch? Like
Yeah.
why?
So
I can't, like it was hard to discern like what's just part of the environment and then what's like a collectible or what, like, you know what I mean? Like that shouldn't be a chore to sort through.
okay. And all right, now Zero. Your impressions on Friday's events concerning Redfall.
Well, based on Jubei's explanation, it kind of makes me more upset about the whole thing. That it made this game a major step better is frustrating because why wasn't this at launch? And then it frustrates me because we probably won't get a Redfall 2, just because it didn't really do well, despite it being like upgraded later in life. But maybe we would have gotten a Redfall 2 if this game had launched the way it was supposed to launch, like a full, interesting game where you can collect. Maybe maybe not. That is up to the it was Arcane who did it or whoever. But that's up to those folks to get it done. But to me, it reeks the idea. We keep seeing companies who are releasing these games that aren't making their quote unquote sales numbers, and then like we don't get another shot at a game that could be potential. I don't think this is helping the issue by releasing subpar games that get fixed later. We shouldn't be continuously relying on fix later. Enhance, absolutely, but fix, no. I just don't. I don't agree. Like I'm happy for the Redfall folks, but for me, it's too little, too late.
Yeah. I think Redfall getting a sequel will largely come down to the players. If people who bought the game, I am happy for them because they got a product that was substandard, and once big Xbox realized that a substandard product was released, they committed and they hunkered down and made those guys make the game worthwhile for those people who are excited for it. it kind of sucks that it wasn't ready at launch. You know how I feel about games at launch. But I do like. Xbox had a busy year this year. They had a lot going on. Somehow, some way, this game escaped their lens as far as the quality and the state of its development. But once it became a thorn in their side, they made sure that they fixed it. I would say in a relatively timely fashion with everything that was wrong with the game. I mean, 6 months. With everything that they did with it.
Actually, this game came out in May. 5 months.
5 months. Okay, I think that's a pretty decent turnaround time. To fix it, but I agree with Zero. It shouldn't have released in that state. But I do think there's a potential for a sequel. Being the fact that it is a part of Xbox Game Pass and people will be able to get their hands on it and play it if they like it. More people jump in. It's not really a live service game, but I think it can be a fun multiplayer experience that people jump back into. And
They should. They honestly could have released it as a. It should have been an early access game. If we're gonna be real.
I won't say it should have been early access. I just think that it just shouldn't have released in that state.
Yeah, it's either early access or delay it till October, where you can have your 60 FPS mode.
Now,
so
correct me if I'm wrong, but this game did not have an open beta.
It did not.
No, I don't think so.
Okay. I think all those type of multiplayer games, maybe if it's not the story, what's up, Dragonheart? If it's not the story, you should at least open up the multiplayer, just to kind of see, get a feel for what people think of your game.
And take feedback. That way, if you know that there's not enough fucking enemies in the overworld, you have a chance to fix that.
Yeah,
because you can get that feedback.
Yeah, I think a beta would have prevented a lot of these issues. The open beta, not like a Call of Duty beta that's like 1 month before the game comes out, like a legit 2.5, 3 months before the game comes out. And our last rapid fire topic that I'm gonna hit you guys with is the announcement of Halo Season 5. Jubei, you're a big Halo fan. How do you feel about Firefight coming back and all the other announcements regarding Halo Season 5?
What took them so long? That's how I feel about it.
Well, I mean, the last season was pretty good too. Season 4, you were happy with Season 4.
They've been on since Season 3, to be honest.
Okay.
This game has been finished since Season 3. So I'm not going to hate. Well, we've had several months now of eating good on the Halo side of things. Forge has gotten better. And now we're getting Firefight. We're getting like flood themed fucking armors. You can put whatever fucking helmet on whatever fucking armor you want. Finally, instead of being like, oh, I'm stuck with this stupid ass body I don't like just because I like the helmet. Yeah, and with Forge also, officially out, that's gonna make Firefight better. That's gonna make it's a fucking great time to jump into this game once this new season drops.
Okay.
They're doing some really cool shit.
It is.
Like having environmental hazards. Like, when's the last time you shot something in Halo and caused somebody to die? That's crazy. Outside of an explosive canister, but like part of the environment. That's
So yeah, it is good to see Halo doing well. Do you think the release cadence for the seasons is kind of on point, or you think it's too long between seasons?
It's not. It's definitely not too long between seasons.
Okay.
Pierre, the new dude they got heading the studio, the guy that saved the Master Chief Collection. He knows what the fuck he's doing.
Okay.
And this is proof.
Okay. So that's cool. That's cool. And Zero, what are your thoughts on this? A quick rapid fire thought.
At this point, now that they're in Season 5, I think because I've just not played Halo Infinite since it was initially announced, or since it initially released. I don't have much to say about it, largely because for a game like this, when you get to season 5, it just becomes what are the quality of life improvements that the people who are playing it interested in, because I've not played it since effectively season 1. All the stuff that they're adding seems interesting. I guess there's always the question of, Jubei said it, what took them so long, and why wasn't some of this stuff in the initial release? But once you get further down in just your season life, it just becomes sort of ticking boxes up and ticking boxes down. So I'm sure there's deep internal sort of quality of life improvements. There's new game modes, there's new costumes, there's obviously new battle passes coming. But do they do new weapons in the seasons, Jubei?
Love you too.
The past 2 seasons we've gotten a yeah.
Okay.
We've gotten, they have touched on that.
Okay. And of course, I know new maps would be coming with it as well. So I think it's cool. That it's on season 5 at least shows that they're going to do their best to keep this game alive. And it's a forever sort of multiplayer game, so it's got to basically live and breathe on its seasons and what they can provide to that player base to keep them engaged. I think it's really hard to get a really high new player base into it.
The biggest thing though is XP in custom games.
Oh, really?
Yeah. They don't want to sit there and sweat trying to grind out these battle passes. You can now grind out these battle passes. You still got to pay the $10 or whatever to get the battle pass, but you can grind it out now in a custom game. You don't got to worry about toxic lobbies or any of that other shit.
That's kind of fun, because that's that brings back some of the initial fun of Halo, which was always a bit of a couch co-op game before it became the online sensation that it was. But it was just a bunch of people getting together and just playing it. So to still feel rewarded by just playing the game, which is always that's that deft line that any company that has these things need to manage, and that every time I play, I just need to feel even if I only get one thing, that one thing will count towards something. So getting EXP in private matches, that's pretty solid. People want to have some old school LAN parties. That's awesome.
Yeah. Well, with the new announcement, it looks like the Steam player count is starting to rise a little bit. That's good. I'm kind of looking at the play charts. Looking at Xbox's play charts right now. But with that being said, those were our rapid fires. We wanted to get those out the way. We didn't want to ignore those, because those are kind of some trending things that happened over the weekend. But that being said, let's jump into topic 1. Kind of our biggest news this week is that Xbox and ABK are expected to close this Friday, the 13th. An infamous day, as far as horror movies and all that. So, and we also got an announcement today from Activision Blizzard regarding its titles going into Game Pass. It's I wish I could pull up the tweet right now. Let's see if I can pull it up on my phone. It doesn't sound like they know exactly what Xbox is going to do with their titles, but they have a strong indicator that that Diablo and at least Modern Warfare 3 won't be jumping into Game Pass day 1. So let me get let me see if I can find it really fast. Am I in my right account? Yeah. Let's see. But yeah, what do you guys think so far about ABK closing this week and kind of what Xbox might do next?
I'm going to assume that a lot of the older, I would imagine that the older Diablos would show up, I guess, before Diablo 4. Are they already in Game Pass?
There's no current
Activision game in Game
nothing
Pass
there.
right now.
There's nothing there right
Okay.
now.
So I would not at all be surprised. I don't know I have Diablo 4. I've not really gotten too much into it. Probably only about 20 hours or so, if that. So I'm enjoying it, but the person I was playing with left, so I just moved on to something else. But yeah, I don't know how well received Diablo 4 was.
I mean,
I
it
don't know
sold
what
it.
Game Pass does to that.
It sold really well. So
Which would make sense. And so maybe Game Pass does help that because since Diablo is just a very grindy game to begin with, so
yeah,
if you can just sort of get folks to get in there and grind up, that's more player base to use. And I know that they're selling a lot of stuff in stores and things like that, and they're doing seasons like everybody else is. So I
Yeah.
think it works out pretty well. Uh, the Modern Warfares, those are given. Whichever ones I guess they choose to put in there, I don't absolutely know how that works. And did a new Call of Duty trailer just released recently, right?
yeah.
Was it Modern Warfare 3?
Yeah. It should be.
I don't know what.
Should be Modern Warfare 3. The game drops in like
Yeah,
4 weeks.
yeah. Okay, yeah. So like, I guess that's showing up in there,
Yeah.
which would be cool. I'm sure that'll be great for the numbers base.
I don't think Modern Warfare 3 makes it in because
Really?
Sony still holds the marketing rights for it. I do see a situation where Sony relinquishes those marketing rights because they don't want to market, Xbox's biggest game of the year, basically.
Who owns Black Ops? Because they have two separate studios doing Call of Duty stuff, right? Like there's the Black Ops guys.
But they don't release two Call of Duties in 1 year.
They have four studios.
Okay.
Because you got the mainline Call of Duties that come out annually, and then you have the live service team that does what's the
Warzone.
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 I got
you got Treyarch, you got Infinity Ward, you got Raven who sucks, or Raven and then Sledgehammer who really sucks.
Gotcha.
So,
okay. But the two I was thinking of is Treyarch and Infinity Ward. I know they're the two separate but equal, if you will, Call of Duty studios.
Those are the two big dogs.
Yeah.
So they'll probably take Sledgehammer off once they acquire them.
Yeah. What I'd be interested about the deal is like, I wonder if Bobby K is still gonna be there. Like, is Bobby K getting let go at some point? I mean, I know like it's still some time to get him out of there, but like, and we probably won't see anything until next year, if that.
He is scheduled to stay in his role as part of the contract. He is available to stay in his role all the way through April.
Oh, so then sometime next year we might be saying
if
he's replaced or not. I'd be intrigued if they're gonna make that move.
He's not supposed to be he's not supposed to stay on with the company long term. He's supposed to be a transitional asset, basically.
Gotcha. Understood.
He's literally only there to aid in the transition. But I mean, I know people, from a business aspect, Bobby is a very good businessman. I wouldn't necessarily be against, him staying. I know him being the head of it all, he had a lot bad that happened while he was there, but he's not really the head anymore, with Microsoft, owning them. So I mean, I know he has to go, but I mean, I will credit him for being a really good businessman and everything he did to make Activision Blizzard the company that it is. But I do have the quote, I do have the tweet, and I just want to read it out before Jubei gives his opinions before we get lost in, because there's going to be a couple more questions along with this topic. And it goes, "It's awesome to see anticipation building for Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3 as we continue to work toward regulatory approval of the Microsoft deal. We've been getting some questions whether our upcoming and recently launched games will be available via Game Pass. While we do not have plans to put Modern Warfare 3 or Diablo 4 into Game Pass this year, once the deal closes, we expect to start working with Xbox to bring our titles to more players around the world. We anticipate that we will begin adding games into Game Pass sometime in the course of next year." I would guess in the course of the next year, I would guess is what he meant to say, but I kind of read that as we will have games going into Game Pass, but we really don't know what Xbox is going to do as far as that's concerned quite yet. So yeah, I completely respect people stopping to support at Activision once we got all the news with Bobby Kotick, but I can't ignore that, you know, he has been um a successful businessman, and he could definitely aid in their transition, you know, through April. Um but yeah, Jubei, what are your thoughts on ABK closing this week? Potentially Friday?
Um, long time coming. Tired of talking about it. Tired of wishing, hoping, praying. Um, yeah, I'm mostly just tired of talking about it. It's
Yeah.
just gonna be nice to close the book, so to speak, on this chapter of Xbox
Yeah.
and move on and actually go back. I mean, there's definitely Call of Duties I skipped. The motherfuckers going in the Game Pass means I can play them. You know what I mean?
Well,
um,
I'm not a big card guy myself, but now that they will be in Game Pass, I mean, it does kind of open the door for me to jump and do some campaigns. I would love to do some campaigns, especially if they have like, you know, some co-op campaigns. I would definitely be willing to do that with you guys. So yeah, I would definitely look forward to that. Um,
and it's going to be a good time. Overall, this is a people like, oh, it's bad, it's consolidation. It's a better thing.
okay.
You know, like I don't have to pay that fucking $80 cost of entry to fucking play Call of Duty every year.
All right. So, the next question as part of this topic that I want to ask you guys is, and I'm gonna kick it off with Zero. After this deal closes, what do you think should be next for Activision Blizzard?
You know what I think should be next? Give me my goddamn games.
No, I know you want the games, but I'm saying, um, you know, outside of the whole Bobby Kotick and everything else, structurally, what kind of changes do you want to see as far as what's next with Activision Blizzard? What do you want to see them do as far as moving forward as a part of now being in the Xbox umbrella?
Well, you know, to stand on my soapbox for a quick second, like, you know, sort of clean up a lot of the issues that we found out from like the whole Cosby Suite stuff, if that stuff still persists.
Yes.
You know, I think that's first and foremost. They gotta keep a pretty squeaky clean record for quite some time. Um, Based on all the stuff that they previously had to deal with. And I know Xbox and Microsoft doesn't really want those headaches. Once we get to that, I'd really just sort of like an observation or maybe restructuring or reviewing of some of their sort of titles that they have out here. Like, you know, what's going on with uh, Overwatch? You know, is that salvageable? Keeping an eye on Diablo to make sure people are still kind of entertained and kept up to date with it. Some new stuff. I'd always like to see StarCraft come back. You know, so I'm always hoping, wishing that one day that will appear again. I don't know much about, say, like World of Warcraft or Hearthstone. I don't know if the communities are like happy with that anymore, or if they're not. But again, just sort of an examination of their portfolio and seeing where are we weak, and hopefully some Xbox resources can help strengthen that stuff. Like I think they're weak on the Overwatch side, and they got to do something about it. You probably can't get Jeff Kaplan back, but you know, if you can figure out a way to sort of make that game better, I think that's a win-win for everybody because people want that game to be good. It just isn't that great right now.
All right.
So on the Activision side, you know, I don't inevitably something. I guess it's hard to break the formula, but something interesting with Call of Duty. You know, my always personal pet project is I wish they would just release a smaller standalone version of just a bunch of the zombie games,
Yeah.
just all in one big package. Because that, you know, I think that would be really fun. I'm sure it's not some crazy moneymaker, but you know, I'm far more interested in having a good experience. And I think you can marry that with making a little bit of money, or if not, like Warzone will definitely offset the costs.
Right? So
Yeah.
I think it's fine. You put out another Nicki Minaj skin and like watch your numbers go up, so you'll be fine. So just do something interesting, fun. I don't know what the future Call of Duty looks like, so that would be, that'd be fascinating to watch where it goes from here under the wheel of Microsoft. But yeah, overall, man, just like look at their portfolio, see where they're weak, strengthen some of their weak games. Really get them to the level that they should be. From what is arguably two titanic organizations, because Blizzard especially used to be one of the greats, and I don't know if people are feeling that anymore.
Yeah.
So get Blizzard back up to what it used to be, and kick the tires and light the fires.
Yeah. So, is there any particular IP that you want to see revived under the Activision banner?
I don't know if it's revived so much, but StarCraft is always my number one pick.
StarCraft.
I mean, it's
okay.
technically Blizzard. Yeah, but like
That's what I mean.
I was about to
Activision Blizzard King. Is there any IP?
Yeah.
Want revived?
I was about to say we need that StarCraft Ghost to actually happen,
Well,
bro.
StarCraft Ghost would be great to see. Yeah,
You're about to get your turn, Jubei. You're about to get your turn.
yeah. But like StarCraft 3, I think would be fun. Like I honestly do not know how well the RTS genre is surviving throughout the globe anymore, but StarCraft was the king for a very long time, and I'm pretty sure StarCraft tournaments are still happening. Let's get another one, man. It was like the RTS.
I think RTSs are actually starting to find more of an audience. I don't think it's a huge audience, but I think they're definitely they're growing a little bit.
I know like Age of Empires is put a lot of it on their back.
Yeah.
And they've been keeping it strong for a long time, but StarCraft was that game.
Because we're having some RPGs starting to introduce RTS elements.
Yeah. I mean, DioField Chronicles was basically it was RTS.
Yeah, and then we're having RTS elements being introduced into some mobile games now. So I think it is starting to kind of find footing that it was losing before. Minecraft Legends is an RTS game. That just dropped, and that's like for kids. So that's kind of bringing kids into the RTS genre a little bit. So
which is good because it can be notoriously difficult to get into.
Yeah. So I definitely think it's finding some type of legs. Jubei, what do you want to see with ABK following this acquisition? How do you want to see them move differently once they are under the Xbox umbrella?
WoW on console. Yeah, bring me World of Warcraft on a console. Bring me StarCraft on a console.
So you willing
Another
to pay
console, like
you willing to pay another sub fee for World of Warcraft, because that will not be included in Game Pass.
it had better be included in Game Pass.
Why?
They can make other.
It has its own separate subscription model.
Okay, that can change.
I think you're asking a little much there.
You think they would make like a Game Pass subscription tier?
Listen, I can play Phantasy Star Online, and I get single month. So
yeah, but that's not their game. That's Sega's game, and how they choose to monetize it is a little bit.
And ain't nobody playing Phantasy Star Online no more.
So, I mean, it's still big over there in Asia.
It's no Genshin.
Yes, it's
definitely not Genshin.
Or Honkai Star Rail.
Yeah,
I think I'm gonna agree with Zero. They need to comb through their catalog and bring some shit back to prominence. Like, are we ready for a new Spyro game? Would you play a new Spyro game, Zero?
You know what? If it was closer to Astrobot, I would. I really did like Astrobot.
Doesn't Activision also own the rights and the property for Sekiro?
Yes, they do own Sekiro. IP.
Yep. So we can get
it wasn't made by an internal studio, but yeah, they own it. So
They could still contract from, you know, it's not like they can't do that.
all right. So is that all you're looking for Activision?
Yeah,
Oh,
I'm
can't
just
hear
I'm
you.
just
Losing
happy.
you again.
Not looking for much. I'm just happy for the games.
Okay. Um, Me personally, once this acquisition goes through, purely from a game development side, what I want to see from Activision Blizzard is I want Treyarch and Infinity Ward to be really the only teams responsible for the success of Call of Duty and the launch of its title. Um, all the support studios, kind of cut those in half. Um, the ones that used to make games can go back to making their own games. That's kind of what I would like to see going forward. Um, the main title I would like to see come back. Um, and I would love for it to be a launch title to kick off the next generation because based on where this acquisition is coming in now and kind of the timeline it would have to with them planning to release in the next console in 2028 according to previously known documents. I would love to see prototype, not a sequel. I don't want to see prototype 3. I just want a brand new prototype um to be a launch title for the new Xbox. That's something that I would love to see. um I would love to see Toys for Bob get back to making type of games that they used to make. Spyro come back, Crash Bandicoot come back. um Maybe even dip into some of Rare's IPs and bring some of those back since Rare isn't really in the business of making those types of games anymore, but they still own the IP, like a Banjo Kazooie. Um, I would love to see those things. And also I would love to see, um, the potential of maybe a second party deal being done and them kind of getting their own Smash Bros thing going on with all the characters they own now. Um, you got your mix of so many different characters and so many different IP between um the three publishing houses that you have of Xbox Game Studios, Bethesda Softworks, and or ZeniMax, and then True Crimes would be great, and now ABK. So I would love to see like that kind of mashup take place, where you kind of get your own oh, you got the Killer Instinct characters. Yeah, like your own Smash Bros type game would be a good look if you ask me. I would love to see that. Um, and yeah, I think those are kind of the main things I would want to see um on the Activision Blizzard side. I know people are clamoring for WoW and StarCraft to come back on the Blizzard side with the type of games they make. I know they're mainly for PC, but with keyboard and mouse integration on Xbox now, I do think, um, and Age of Empires being on Xbox now, I do think there's a path for those games making it there, and expanding to an audience of gamers who just are afraid to build their own gaming PC or even purchase one. So yeah, that would be cool to be able to get that audience um in front of those type of games. Um, but I guess my final question, inside of this topic, would be, once this acquisition finalizes at the end of this week for Xbox, um, what do you want to see Xbox do next? Um, as that's a very open ended question. I'm not guiding it in any direction, so I'm just gonna throw it out there. Zero. What do you want to see Xbox do next? After they have done seemingly the impossible with all the opposition they have and close it out.
I think focus on the studios that you have and like, I'm not gonna lean into the, like, give me my games thing, but it is the idea of like, all right, guys, like we've basically crossed what is like probably the biggest hurdle we will deal with for quite some time. It's done. Like it is time to get to work. That either that's ramping up, that is shifting studios, even if that unfortunately comes with closing studios or merging them together to do something else with them. But it's really putting wheels to the road and getting these products out for the Xbox and the larger gaming community. Starfield is great. Redfall is cool, I guess. And Call of Duty will be that, but you can label it under Xbox now, so sure. But like, it's 2023. For the next 10 years, we should really be getting a just breadth of games from Xbox Studios. I personally don't really wish they do any more acquisition. I know they are, even if they're going to give it some time. Again, to me, buckle down. Let's focus on working on these studios that we got, making sure everybody's good, making sure everybody's ready to be prepared, because like we have to hit the ground running with everything that we've been doing. Especially because some of these won't show up until the next generation anyway. So if you can start off the next gen incredibly strong, that's huge. That I think that would be absolutely massive for Xbox, and put all of their competitors on their toes about how do we make sure we stay ready for when this stuff is supposed to happen. So I think they really need to focus on that and get that done. Of course, like everything else, give me some new experiences. Give me some old ones. Give me some old ones with new, interesting features to them that make them feel like new experiences. Of course, not all of these are going to be bangers. I'm not asking for everything to be perfect, but I am asking for things to be interesting and new and different. I wouldn't, in my head, if Gears is done, give them something else to do. In my head, if we're not going to really focus that heavy on Halo's story anymore, then give those guys who are crafting the story something else to do. I agree with you, Pharaoh. Give Torso Bob something to do. Make Treyarch and Infinity War responsible for their Call of Duty success and them only. Free up these other guys to do something else, because I know they want to. They're developers and they're artists and they have their ideas. Let's see what they can pull out of them. Be it Rare, be it Blizzard, be it Activision, be it whoever it is. Provide us with some new and fun, interesting experiences, guys, because now's your time to shine. I wish nothing but the best for that entire Xbox team, but I want you to shine. Like, shine on, you crazy diamond. Let's get it done, and let's make great games for the next, at this point, 15 years, and put Xbox into position, I think, to be its best it ever has been since its company's inception. That's my absolute dream. We can argue back and forth for PlayStation about what's the best generation, same with Nintendo. I think Xbox sits now, either now or the next one, to be the best Xbox has ever been. So I really need them to get it together, pull together, and start going to work.
I don't think this can be their best generation. I don't think we're ever gonna say Xbox Series S was, or Series SX was Xbox's best generation, because I feel like this is kind of like a building blocks generation for them. As far as the acquisitions and the actual rollout and synergy of games releasing in a cadence. We just haven't seen it quite yet. I mean, the next 5 years can kind of change that perception, but we haven't seen Bethesda or ZeniMax and Xbox Game Studios just both pumping out titles consistently. Forget about quality. We just haven't seen we Bethesda's pretty much carried Xbox this generation. We haven't really seen much from the XGS side of the house so far this generation, outside of what Halo, Pentiment, Grounded finally released.
Oh yeah.
And even though it was in early access for forever, and then we just got a bunch of live service updates so far this generation. But as far as the Xbox Game Studio side of the house, nothing has hit yet. We're supposed to get 3 of those titles, I believe, next year. Possibly. Oh, we got the Forza, but I'm not counting Forza. We got 2 Forzas. But I think we get Clockwork Revolution, Avowed and Hellblade next year. So we should get 3 from the Xbox Game Studio side of the house. But I think I think Xbox's best generation will be once their portfolio is fulfilled and all of the studios between all of the publishers are all hitting at the same time. They're just all pumping out games, and they have a release schedule that isn't in conflict with each other, so that people really can dive in and enjoy a wide breadth of game.
And that's what I hope. And like at some level it's naive, some level it's just wishful thinking. But I'm hoping that if we've got the 3 that are coming next year that we know, then there's still probably 2 more that might pop up by the fall, and then maybe
Because
another 3 by 2025.
because
Wishful thinking, I know, but that's what I would love to have.
I mean, with this ABK acquisition, they're probably gonna and at all time have somewhere close to north of 40 games in development at all time.
Yeah,
Like
and my idea is if we can get 6, a great world would be 7, but maybe at least 6 throughout the year. I don't think that's too
they want
bad.
at least 1 a quarter. I think most quarters you'll get 2, but I think they want at least 1 a quarter.
Yeah.
But yeah. Jube, Captain Xbox, self-proclaimed Captain Xbox. What do you want to see from Xbox following this ABK acquisition? Yeah, going one. There we go.
I need Sega. I need Sega. I need some kind of Japanese publisher or studio.
So you're still on
So that,
the job's not done.
no, the
What you're
job is
saying.
not done. Until they've covered every possible base with Game Pass. I mean, they still need an in-house fighting game studio.
The
They
Sega
don't
fulfill
really
that?
have an in-house. Sega could fulfill that.
The Sega make fighting games? I'm just asking. Currently,
I mean,
They got Virtual Fighter.
they do got Virtual Fighter.
but how long has it been since? I feel like it's been like a generation since we got a damn Virtual Fighter. Virtual Fighter 5 was the last one, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, something like that.
I mean, if they were ballsy, they'd bring back, what was it? I think it's fighting. It's either Fighting Vipers or Fighter's Destiny, whichever one had the Daytona USA car.
Okay. So, yeah, I was just curious, do they fulfill that? So, all right. So you want the Japanese publisher? Anything else you want from Xbox to do post acquisition? You went on mute.
Well, I mean, like I said, I just want them to be able to cover all genres. I need them to have a sports studio. I need them to have a fighting game studio.
Sports
And
studio?
then-
What type of sports game do you want them to make?
I don't know, but they could make one. I'm not telling them to go get an NFL license. That's not going to happen.
Yeah.
But maybe they want to get into like the boxing genre or something. Bring it back, fucking ABA. I don't fucking know.
If they're
But
gonna
just
do
something.
if they are gonna do sports, I think they should make. If anything, don't make sports games that are geared towards adults, because 2K and Madden and all that, they already have their lane. If anything, they should make like kids sports game that kind of introduces kids in the sports, like kind of like how Nintendo had Wii Sports for a minute. Like if anything, it would be that.
Well, to agree with
Can I
you both,
get
like,
a backyard? Can I get a backyard baseball club?
yeah, what they need, and Sega can do because they know the arcade business. They need an arcade sports game,
Yeah, I mean
like something that doesn't have to be terribly serious, but it plays more of a loose arcade type of game as
like
opposed to
the Wii Sports game.
Yeah.
Wii
Mhm.
Sports was amazing. Like that's Wii Sports it might be a top 10 game of all time. Like it's in its simplicity and it's fun and function. Yeah, Wii Sports was up there. That is a timeless game. The only thing that makes it not timeless is that the hardware didn't carry over to future generations, so you can't do the motions. But you can put if Nintendo's smart, they could license it out to Oculus and them, you know. But
Keep going. Yeah, they've and Sega's got a lot in their back catalog for Jubei that I think they could tap into. There's the Virtual On series that really hadn't seen. I think there was a PSP game a couple of years back. Um, but I think I agree with Farrell. Like if you're gonna do any sports or really just lean into some arcade sort of games as a whole, sort of that Gungrave, Daytona USA, backyard baseball type of feel where they're quick, fun experiences that don't necessarily take a lot of effort to play and that everyone can play and enjoy.
hey, Ali.
I don't personally want them to get Sega, but if they do that, then go ahead.
All right. So, what I want to see from Xbox following this acquisition, there needs to be an integration that takes place in a level of synergistic communication between Xbox Game Studios, ZeniMax Media, and Activision Blizzard King. And there needs to be someone whose job that isn't Phil Spencer. Someone has to get a proper cadence of releases so that none of these games step on each other. I want Xbox to figure out exactly. I need them to decide, not just figure out, how exactly ABK changes the dynamics of Game Pass. Because there are very large games that Activision makes that they have been unwilling to put into a subscription service for a very good reason, because those games make a ton of money in sales and they don't want to cannibalize those sales on a particular platform because it's in a subscription service. But when Xbox owns the subscription service, that's a different dynamic. So I need Xbox to figure out exactly what they're doing there. Is Call of Duty a game that once it clears all the red tape with Sony and their licensing agreement, that is a game they're gonna put in Game Pass day one, or is it something where we might have to wait 6 months? This is kind of the things that I need them to figure out and then get the messaging right to us, the gamers, so that we understand exactly what we're getting with what we're paying for. As far as on the acquisition front, I do think that they still do need to do more acquisitions. And it's not necessarily all IP that they need, but they do need they do need Japanese talent, not just for IP and to make games that are appealing to that region. So whether it's a Square Enix or a Sega or it's a smaller developer, they do need to reach out and make some gains there in that region as far as some Japanese talent. That said, beyond that, with the titles that they already are currently making, they do need to go on a support studio spending spree, especially when it comes to localization of games in different languages. It is something that over the years I've seen a lot of people who are supporters of the Xbox brand complain about, because the game isn't localized to their language and they want to play it. So, following this acquisition, they need to figure out what support studios can do what for the entire Xbox brand at ABK and at Bethesda and at Xbox Game Studios, and they need to fill those gaps, especially when it comes to localization. Because if you want to sell games everywhere and be this big massive brand and be number one, you can't miss on this language thing. Especially if you want to be mobile and everything that you're claiming that you want to be, you gotta have the language thing down. I think that's the biggest thing that's gonna be important now that they have all this IP and they're making all these different games and they really want to sell everywhere. You can't be missing on language. So yeah, go get that Japanese go get that Japanese studio that you need, or a Japanese publisher that you need, so that you can kind of round out your portfolio. Maybe purchase a fighting game studio that you need, and then focus on localization. Get a good release cadence, and then let the games do the talking. Because you have a lot of games, ensure the quality of them. And something that I do think that they should do um, is invest into double A game. We need more hi-fi rushes, high quality double A games, and they might need to just put a couple games in the stash for when you do have a major delay of a game. You can replace it with another game. I think that's a unique opportunity that Xbox now has with all the studios and teams that they have that no one else in the industry has. I don't think anyone else in the industry could be like, "Hey, we have to delay this game, but hey, we can shadow drop um this double A game that, probably been done for 2 years, but just because we have so many games coming out, we didn't have to rush this and we saved it for a rainy day." Like I think that would be kind of a phenomenal thing if they were able to actually pull something off like that, where they could have, not a ton, like 3 or 4 games, just kind of just sitting there just in case, shit goes left and they gotta, drop something in that quarter. That is something I would love to see. And if you guys have any thoughts on anything I said, feel free to jump in. Um, but if not,
I
we'll
mean, I,
dive
I
into
will say I
topic two.
agree with I will at least agree with the keeping something in your back pocket. I think you can sneak in some really good games that way while keeping people a little bit satisfied. So when you have to send out that we're sorry we're doing a delay message, but also we're going to release this instead, and giving people at least an opportunity to play something that they can hold them over until the game you delayed comes out.
Yeah. They don't have to be long games. They can be 15 to 30 hour games. Like,
No, like if Hi-Fi Rush dropped as a like, oh, we're delaying Hellblade, if you will, but like here's Hi-Fi Rush, it would have been received so well. I mean, it was already received well, but like
yeah,
I don't even think people would have minded any game delay that was placated by Hi-Fi Rush.
yeah, I agree. I agree. I definitely think there's opportunity there, when it comes to that. Um, but Jube, you got any thoughts? Any final thoughts before we dive into topic two? Or we just kind of moving on?
We're good. Like I
Oh,
said, I just want Game Pass to be able to cover every single fucking genre,
okay.
and go with that.
All right, all right. And with that being said, let's dive into topic two. This week we had Forza Motorsport release, and it had an interesting reception among reviewers and one news outlet in particular. Didn't showcase the game in its best light visually. There was some sort of bug that they didn't catch. Um, and I'll say that's partially a Xbox thing, and partially a reviewer thing where you just didn't do your due diligence to know that was taking place. They did come out and apologize. So definitely not gonna crush them for that. Um, but yeah, so um, we've seen the reception from people who have played it in early access. They all seem to be pretty pleased with the game. I haven't seen um anyone who has played the game walk away or give a negative take on the game thus far. I've heard a little bit about some of the like the campaign elements could be a little bit better, but other than that, I believe people are pretty happy with the title thus far. I am going to let Jube speak first on the game, seeing as he actually played it this week, so he can kind of give us his thoughts a little bit on the game and kind of the reception um on it.
Yeah, gladly. I mean, I haven't played very much, but from what I've played, I'm really enjoying my time. Um, It's very accessible, I would say, for a racing game, which I was very surprised by. Um, like they kind of dumb everything. I'm not saying dumb everything down, but they make it make sense for you. Um, and I'm kind of excited to see like dive into like and things like that. Kind of see where we're where it's headed. And I don't think I've the last career mode I played was like Forza Motorsport like 4 or some shit. It's been a long time. Because I just wasn't interested in it.
So as part of the because you said more accessible, and I've always known one of the least larger differences between Forza and Gran Turismo is Forza's a bit more arcade racer versus Gran Turismo, which is supposed to be more strictly simulation. So is five, I guess, leaning more into its sort of more arcadier roots to sort of help differentiate itself?
Nope, it is more sim than
Really?
arcade. Yeah.
Hmm. That I think for me that's always been my challenge with both Forza and Gran Turismo. Like I like them both. I've played them both. But there becomes to me a casual player, just a level of diminishing returns where it goes from, I just want to drive a Nissan Skyline to, well, before you even get into the car, like let's tweak your torque and adjust your brakes and make sure you switch your tires, which is, I get it. These are simulation games made for people who like to race. But just like we said with Sega, like where's the game for the people who just like to push X and go?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's Forza Horizon now.
Oh, that's what Forza Horizon is. That's the arcade racer. That
Yeah,
I forgot. There's two amongst them. That's right.
Yeah. Yeah. Forza Horizon, you can do some tuning to your vehicle, but it's not necessary. But yeah.
Okay.
Heard you talking a little bit. What were your perception of the Forza release and kind of all the talks surrounding it this week as we as it released? I think it released in early access on Thursday.
I'm not sure. I admittedly I do not follow Forza very much at all. Or really any of the racing games. It's not just Forza. So I really missed a lot of the sort of discourse surrounding this. From what I gather, though, it's a reviewer put out a review based on what one might say is an inferior version of the game, which is a little, I understand it's not necessarily all their fault, but they do probably should have done some level of due diligence, which I imagine falls on the company as a whole and not necessarily the individual reporter.
Well,
Um,
there's like a bug with the game. So like I said, it's partially on the developer. There's a bug where when you change the settings, it messes up the visuals, so you have to like completely reboot the console in order for
oh wow,
for the settings to take place.
jeez.
So yeah, it's partially on a developer, but as a reviewer, you should kind of recognize that like this don't look right. Like this, like I
Yeah,
know,
I know it's one of those things, and we like. I think it's. I imagine it's a company thing and not a specific reviewer thing. Just how they have to work within the time frame that they have to.
yeah.
But just as it's in general, the release of Forza seems to be good. I know that's one of Xbox's biggest titles, and people always seem to be pleased about it. Like Forza always seems to do pretty well every time it's released. So I'm happy for that. Is Forza Horizon what number is Horizon on?
5.
Oh, so they're 1-1. So Forza
Not
Horizon
really.
came out first.
Not really. They kind of like Forza Horizon. It was kind of like an annualized release at some point, and then they kind of slowed down the release cadence once they kind of figured out
okay.
everything they wanted it to be. But like yeah, like the Forza series started on original Xbox, and it went up to 7, and then they had like a 5-year hiatus after 7, and then we got the game currently at.
Oh, I did not know that. Okay, so they
Yeah.
kind of soft rebooted, if you will.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, it's a reboot
okay.
because they stopped numbering it, so this is a reboot.
Yeah. And so I was like, yeah, they rebooted it. That of which I did not know. So again, unfortunately, I just don't know much about Forza. One, not being an Xbox owner. Two, not that being that terribly interested in racing games as a whole. It's one of the sports games are like just one of my bigger blind spots when it comes to gaming. So really, it's just like I'm happy it's out. I imagine it's going to sell well, review well, and it's just another notch on Xbox's belt about a game we can put out that's good. So sort of happy for them. I'm glad it came out, and I hope it does well.
All right, so speaking of reviews, so far, Forza Motorsport 6 sits at an 85. Um, while Gran Turismo 7 sits at an 87, as far as its Metascore. So there's a lot of discourse around that, being that Forza had been consistently rated over Gran Turismo over the years, and this is the first time that it dropped a little bit. But I don't want to like get into to what's better. Um, but what I do want to highlight is how Game Pass and the ability to actually play a game, even if you're not really interested, gives you a chance to kind of um garner your own perception of a title and kind of renders some of these reviews a little useless. Because to me, the point of a review isn't necessarily it's for prospective customers, not people who are planning to purchase the game and play it anyway. So if you're already planning to buy the game, the reviews don't really matter for you outside of talk. The reviews are really for people who don't know if they're really gonna buy it or if they should buy it this year or anything like that. So I just want to kind of not necessarily talk about the game itself per se, but just the power that Game Pass gives a consumer not to strictly rely on a review when they're interested in the title. Zero, how do you feel about that?
So I think I partially agree. I do understand your perspective of Game Pass just allows me to play it without necessarily needing the review. However, I think then it just becomes a time commitment issue,
Yeah.
and
Well,
whether or
not
not
really.
it is even.
It's really more so Game Pass kind of allowing uh you know your purchasing power not necessarily dictating your ability to your like your finances not inhibiting you playing a game, because a review kind of was like it's not really worth my money based on the reviews that I'm seeing. So maybe I won't buy it this year. But then now you have a service like Game Pass, you get to try the game out and then kind of get your own perception of, that review score doesn't matter. Like if you see a 70 or 60 on a game, you play it and you get a whole different perception. Like we got with Atomic Heart this year. Atomic Heart reviewed poorly, but it's one of the most successful games of 2020.
Yeah, I agree. I think what Game Pass has highlighted, and it was always sort of kind of there anyway, that it's not just a financial commitment that gamers are interested in anymore. It is a time commitment, and
Yeah.
so if I look at a review in a game that scores a 40, sure, it doesn't cost me any money, but I'm also not wasting my time even downloading it. There's no point.
Yeah.
Especially with the many titles that are on Xbox Game Pass or on PlayStation or whatever. Like there is probably rare moments where I will ever not find something that I cannot that I like. There will be rare moments where I have nothing to play, and then I'm like, I guess I'll try out this terrible game that got rated terribly. So while I agree, it doesn't necessarily put a financial burden on anything. I still find that reviews hold their purpose from a time spent, because now so many games want to take all of your time.
All right. So
Some.
here's what I'm gonna here's what I want to ask you. Has a review ever swayed whether or not you played it that you were interested in? I'm just talking about purely the score.
Yeah, I'm just trying to think of Well, but I don't necessarily look purely at a score. I do read what people say.
Okay.
Yeah,
A
so
lot of people,
I wouldn't just
a lot of people,
log in.
a lot of people don't read. So
Yeah.
that's why I'm just generalizing and asking. Like, has a review score, kind of dictated, you playing a game? I won't say a game purchase, but just you playing it.
Uh, it- Probably I just for the life of me couldn't think of one off the top of my head. Probably largely because if it scored pretty low, I didn't give it any second thought.
Yeah,
The games that I tend to be excited about that I know are coming, I tend to get regardless of like review score.
yeah, that's what I'm
But
saying.
occasionally there's something but occasionally there's something like a Writers Republic,
Yeah,
which I did enjoy, but like it wouldn't be surprising to me if Writers Republic scored low, and I was like, okay, I just won't waste my time.
well, I'm
Even
just
if it's
asking.
free, I'm just not going to waste my time.
I'm more like, I just want to know, like, not necessarily a bad review, but even like a great review. Like, if a game just kind of is off the radar, and then
Well, Baldur's Gate,
it got a
if you do
90.
the opposite side, that
Yeah.
it reviewed well, made me interested in Baldur's Gate. I've
Okay.
never once been interested in that series as a whole.
All right.
But
So
it's
just
high reviews.
so purely based on the score, that made you just like, I need to check that out.
Yes, or at least the score prompted further research.
Okay.
Yeah. But I was like, whoa, what? Like, 'cause I've been hearing about Baldur's Gate for decades. It's like, I don't know what this is. I've never been interested. I cannot say I'm a fan of the Baldur's Gate series, but that it reviewed so well, I was like, okay, what's going on here? I'm like, oh, I kind of want this game. I
Yeah.
can't think of anyone that's turned me the other way though. I'm sure it has. I just can't think of any.
Yeah. During the 360 days, I had quite a few friends that were into Baldur's Gate. I never really played it myself.
Yeah, like I can't be one of those guys who like I always liked it. I've never cared.
Yeah. Same here. I can't. I'm not gonna claim. Will I be willing to try it out? Maybe someday, but um, it's not really my style of RPG.
Mm.
So Jubei, I guess I got to spin back to you. What do you think about the contrast of having to rely on a review versus being able to personally experience the game for yourself and garner your own perception of a title versus
I don't think you should solely rely on a review. Um, I think you if you're on the fence about a game, use a review. If you were
yeah
going to get it anyway, then the review shouldn't matter to you. Like if you're a fan, doesn't matter. Like there's people that were like, scoring Forza lower because they're just not car people. I'm like, why the fuck are you reviewing the game then? But their review is still going to go into the aggregate score, so people are going to see it, and it's going to be like, oh, this game isn't reviewing very high because there's people reviewing it that just aren't into car games. But if you're into car games, the review's not going to matter. You're going to play the car games that you want to play.
but
You're going to,
but like even certain
what's
aspects
up?
of the game that got knocked in the review, like even like a review that got a decent score, like a 87 or 90 or 80. I know like
Right.
the RPG elements were kind of criticized, but then you get to play the game, you get your own feel for the RPG mechanics, you get to determine for yourself, how you feel about
I feel so far it's rewarding, like building up to something.
it. Uh huh.
Like I don't have any issues with the progression system so far. Um, you're getting like you get bonus shit for like practice runs. Like you can make your car better just sitting in practice mode before the big race, and they like let you sit there and learn the track. That way, when it's actually time to race and try to podium, you know you've already been practicing this. It's
It's like real life.
it's the first time it's the first time I've cared about like shaving time off my lap
Yeah,
and figuring out ways to do them.
because that's
So,
what racers do in real life. They don't just show up the day of the race and give their best effort. Like no, they practice on the track. They reserve a time slot to where they have the track
Ricky
for
Bobby, Ricky
an
Bobby
hour or
showed up
two,
and
and
performed his
then
best.
yeah, and you kind of you do a couple laps solo with nobody on the track, and you try to get a feel for how you want to race it when the day comes. Um, yeah, that is a level of realism. But the really main reason I brought that up is because I'm seeing the contrast between reviewers and players when it comes to this game. And I just remember earlier in the year with the whole Redfall debacle, going back to that game, one of our panel members, Zero, he had the opportunity to play the game a little bit early before reviews dropped for the game. And his perception of the game was different than a lot of the reviews that kind of came out for it. So that kind of is kind of what inspired that part of the question.
I
For
still
those
don't
listening.
understand.
At the end of the day, it's somebody else's opinion. It doesn't necessarily make it fact. It doesn't make it right. Now, if you're looking through reviews and you see a consensus among those things, now you can use that to form, form a basis for like, hey, there is something, to this thing. If every review is talking about the same thing, that's one thing. But like I said, I'm not a car guy. Here's a 75. Like the fuck, there's no value in that review to me.
Yeah,
And
I mean,
a lot of reviews is also you you can't just go off of one score. You can't even really go off a meta score because I mean, if a game is multi-platform and it only gets 10 reviews on Xbox and one of those reviews isn't great, but it gets like 60 reviews on another platform and majority of them are, like, it's going to skew the score. It's not like it's fundamentally a worse game. It's just there's not enough reviews for it to match the score.
I
So I mean, it's a weird thing to have to sit there and sift through. And while I think like I said, if you're on the fence, consult reviews to see if it's something that's worth your time. If you're gonna get it anyway, go get it anyway. Like, argue with your wallet. Like, just
I
understand, if you buy, getting your money back for the game is gonna vary based on how you did that. But um, yeah,
I just me personally, I love that as a consumer um that that kind of power is kind of taken away from a review, that I don't have to lean so heavily on it when it comes to playing a game. Um, so I don't have to go back and look at, hey, what's the review score of Gotham Knights? I just get to go play it because I know a lot of people um really wait for these reviews and they depend on them to make their decisions. And a lot of times, um, they miss out on good games because of it. Not specifically talking about Forza, but there are certain genres that just don't necessarily review well, but they have great games within that genre. Like
how many
JRPGs is
how many
notorious for that.
how many JRPGs have you played that have reviewed so shittily, but you're like,
Yes.
what's people's problem? It's a
Like
great game. Like, you can't
like
just go off of
greatest
that.
like some of the greatest stories of freaking all time, and the game got like a 60. So
Because the person playing it doesn't give a shit. Like, it's like
yeah, like
it's a
so
tool. It should not be the only tool. It's like buying a car. You know what I mean? Like,
so
you're not gonna go with the full price on your car, right? Like, you're gonna shop around,
so
and you're also
me
not gonna go like it's a tool. Use it as a tool, but don't use it as the only thing.
so so yeah, for me personally, like these services like Game Pass and PS Plus and just especially now that demos are kind of not a thing anymore. They're starting to become a thing again. These avenues for players to experience a game and kind of form the basis of their own opinion on the game and not rely so heavily on someone else's opinion or a title or a collection of opinions. Um, I love it, and I think it's given quite a few games a chance that may have been dead in the water. So maybe not for a Forza because it's a very successful franchise, but for a game like Atomic Heart, what I spoke on that, you know, that game may have been dead in the water. That game may have flopped. That studio may, have not seen the light of day again, if not for um players having an opportunity to form their own judgment on it and really finding out that it's an excellent game for what it does according to gamer. Um so I like it. I like it. I like those tools being out there for consumers, and I think it really helps developers a lot as well. With that said, let's move on to the next topic. This is our kind of our final topic. We have a bonus topic at the end, but this is our final like news topic, and it regards Assassin's Creed Mirage recently released, and this game has gone back to its original formula. You know, back with the Altair and Enzio days. Um, and it seems to be doing pretty well. I don't have the sales numbers in front of me. But how do you guys feel about Assassin's Creed going back to, you know, what made it great? Um, I know Jubei is a big Assassin's Creed, so I'm gonna kick it off with him.
Um, yeah. So, Assassin's Creed 2 and Black Flag are the two best Assassin's Creed games ever made, ever. Um, I'm not a super big fan of the RPG based Assassin's Creed just because I feel that they're bloated and they don't respect my time. There's just way too much to do. And it's just like, oh, I feel like I'm making progress. And it's like, oh, like here's another map with like 60 other things that you have to either go and collect or go and look at. Like it's just, I get fatigued and then I don't want to play it. Like Valhalla is like the first Assassin's Creed game where like I hit a point where I'm like, I don't really feel like playing this because it feels like a chore. Like I'm not having fun playing it. And it sucks that I had to say that, but I appreciate Mirage going back to like the simpler things, just focusing like more on the gameplay, like your strategy for taking out your target, gathering information, things like that, instead of it just being the typical open world Ubisoft collectathon. Like it's a breath of fresh air, to be honest, just to not have to deal with all that.
Okay, and
You
this
still
and
get,
this
nice sprawling cities, but it's like I'm not stuck spending more of my time on the map. Like, oh, let me highlight this point of interest so I have like a path to get there. Like, I I don't find that fun. So
so this is a game that you definitely plan on jumping back into.
yeah, yeah. When I it's definitely on the buy list. So when I get the opportunity to buy it, I'll grab it.
Okay.
Hopefully it won't be it's not anywhere near launch, so I'm okay. I'm okay with that. I can live with that. But
Okay. And Zero, I know you are also fond of the Assassin's Creed series, as many are. So what are your thoughts on Assassin's Creed kind of reaching back
They
and,
need to
and
bring
going back
back.
to the roots?
I too enjoy it. The no, I've played a couple of them, but probably my favorite Assassin's Creed is still Assassin's Creed Brotherhood.
Okay.
Just because of the online element. Like that was a unique thing that I think should really still come back in some form or fashion. Like I thought it was kind of cool. So I think it's really good that Assassin's Creed has been leading the charge for a lot of people saying we are really, really tired of these everything to do maps in 100-hour plus game. And then Jubei talked about sort of then there's a leveling system, then there's a crafting system. And you got to go from point A to B to do all this stuff and collect all these tiny materials. It all becomes too much.
And they monetize fast travel.
And then they're selling me seasons because I know and I think it was pretty good, but like the Egypt one had the raids and stuff like that. It's like this is a lot. Also for a game that it did sort of start off with just it's kind of not simple but weird sort of time travel mechanic back and forth. It's good to go back to what made this game special, what made it interesting.
Yeah.
Before it sort of just got off the rails because they kept having to pad it and make it bigger and bigger. But bigger isn't always better. If you can create a smaller, tighter experience, what seems to have been done with Mirage, then I think that is where the series should try to find some middle ground to go forward. With the whole series. I understand that they I get that Valhalla seems to be pretty good, right? Like inevitably one day I'll probably play it. Same with Odyssey. I think people like them, but the major complaint is that it's just too much. Like putting everything in the world doesn't mean it's good. It just means you put everything in the world.
And now, and Jubei said again, everything becomes now a chore. I'm not playing the game. I'm just doing chores. And if I wanted to do chores, I can play games like Final Fantasy 14 or Warhammer, World of Warcraft, where I log in and do my dailies and log off.
Yeah.
I don't really want to have that sense when I'm playing not an Assassin's Creed game. So I'm glad that they went back to it. I am going to be picking it up because I want the game to do well so that people, or at least Ubisoft, will understand that there's some sales here and maybe pull back from the massive sort of giant maps of the Assassin's Creed world. Like maybe one or so, but for the past couple of years, almost all Assassin's Creed games have felt like too much. And they can craft a good story. They can make an interesting multiplayer mode that they've done before. They do cool weapons. The characters, the assassins themselves, are very cool, like kind of timeless. They just need to figure out a way to pull the game back. I think because 100 hours is a lot. Like,
Yeah.
that's just a lot for a game that's not a JRPG.
Yeah, I feel like they lost me on Assassin's Creed a long time ago. I was a fan of the series. So it's good to see it come back and kind of do what it's doing. I would say to me, when you go into the Valhallas and the Black Flags, and I think the more regions that they expanded into, the more elements of an assassin you felt got lost. And then you got the like Valhalla. I didn't play it, but it didn't look like an assassin type game at all. It looked like you being a fucking Viking and just going around killing. So that kind of
Agreed. I saw someone say that like an Assassin's Creed that played a little bit like Hitman would be interesting. Maybe not a big title, but like a small Assassin's Creed game that is more just like Hitman, where it is eyeing targets, taking them out, moving stealthily, getting in and out. Because you're right, they're effectively action games at this point.
Yeah, so I mean, I don't have a problem with them going to different regions and doing different things. I don't think AC Mirage had to be back in the Middle East in order for it to be a good game. But I think they just lost sight of, like these assassin mechanics and like the thought process and just the original vision of, this assassin society. The assassin society can be anywhere, any region. So I don't want to see Assassin's Creed in Japan or California or Brazil or Norway or just anywhere. Like I think there's a place for the concept of Assassin's Creed to literally be anywhere. But you have to I think the real magic in Mirage is that they are going back to actual assassin elements, like the assassin thought process and perspective of like hunting down your target and the fashion in which you choose to kill them in, and the consequences of what you decide to do. A stealth kill versus a kill out in the open, how that might compromise your character, and things like that. So I am really appreciative of the fact that they kind of went back into those assassin elements, and I really hope that they carry those elements forward into the next set of Assassin's Creed games that they plan to develop. I don't want to go back to Valhalla, where I feel there were no real assassin elements. Well, I guess you were like technically assassinating someone, but it's more like you're going to war than committing an assassination. So, but yeah, that's kind of what I like to see. What I like most about this new Mirage game, and I'm not locked into purchasing it, but it's definitely something that has caught my eye, and I may end up grabbing when I get a chance, or when I care to do so, I guess I should say. But yeah, and any other thoughts in regards to the Assassin's Creed series?
For me,
Going once, going twice. All right, we will hit our final topic of today, our bonus topic, as you will. and it's just something that kind of popped in my head a couple weeks ago. We've been seeing a lot of these games struggle to find success and audiences and things like that, and it's game development. The costs are rising; they're only getting higher year over year. But the population of gamers isn't necessarily increasing year over year. We've kind of reached a saturation point where you get about 350 million consoles sold per generation, and those aren't 350 million gamers, because I know I have one of each console. So um we kind of reached a saturation point. So the question that I kind of proposed to that I told people that I thought of right after the show actually was, what role do us as gamers what role should we play in introducing our hobby of gaming to others? Um, that's our bonus topic of the day. What role should gamers play in kind of doing that? And I'm gonna kick that off with Zero, since he really thought this was an interesting topic that we should run.
I
So
do. I really, really like this topic.
okay.
Like I think for me, I think we should play a really big role in introducing new people to like our hobby and our the things that we enjoy. I think a lot of times, you spend enough time on the internet, you get a lot of people who are much more like they want to sort of keep the community closed. Gatekeep is a word tossed around a lot,
Yeah.
and I understand the impetus to do it, because you sort of want to invite people into your home without them then rearranging your furniture.
Yeah.
But of course, the more people you invite in, furniture's going to get moved around. It is just sort of how the world works in that space. And at this point, it's damn near impossible to gatekeep $1 billion industry. How does that work? But I still think there is room to allow for a whole host of people to come into this hobby, because for me, I was fortunate growing up that I grew up around a bunch of people who also liked my hobby. So I never really had any issues. Like, I always had my tribe of people who I could talk to about Final Fantasy or, Star Ocean or Mario or any of these things. So I was never really like a lonely kid who did not have anyone to speak to. But we know that there were some of those, who didn't really have anybody, or who wrote into the Letters of Game Informer magazine or Nintendo World to be a part of that space because they didn't have anybody where they were from. Converting more people to like your hobby, I think, gives you more people to talk about it.
Yeah.
And to enjoy it and to share these experiences. It's one thing to say that Kofi and Pharaoh and I grew up together, so like we can talk about Final Fantasy 7 for days. We grew up as kids playing, and we talked about it amongst ourselves as we grew up. But if I didn't have anybody to talk to it with, it's wonderful to introduce somebody to that, who then can talk to you about it, and you can talk to them about it together.
Yeah.
If you were from like the just quote unquote general nerd perspective, it's nice that I can talk to almost anybody down the street and talk about comic books. Where when I was growing up, I didn't have a lot of people who could do that, and just where I lived in inner city Baltimore City, it just wasn't a lot of people doing that. Not to say that there weren't places, it just wasn't happening in that perspective. So, for me, it's always good to allow for more people to appreciate something that you love, and you're sharing something that you love with them, and I think that's a good thing. People respond well, I think, to people who are passionate about stuff. And if you're passionate about video games and it's good and it's interesting, and like, then when you know them, you sell them on the things that you think they would be interested into. So if your girlfriend loves to watch SVU and stuff like that, give her Phoenix Wright. She really might be into that. Or LA Noire. The Last of Us did a great bang up job of introducing people to a video game that people might get interested in. And it's like, oh, well, what's the game like? And so us as gamers, there's a level of responsibility. I understand there's a variety of challenges in achieving that mission. But if we're just talking about the base level of the question here, absolutely we have a. I think as gamers, if we want our game hobby to survive and continue, we have to get more people to support it and be a part of it. And that's going to come with the good, the bad, and the ugly. Uh, and you got to weather that storm. But I don't think, I don't think you get to $1 billion industry by keeping it enclosed. I just don't think it can happen. And, for whatever reason you want to like close it off to the rest of the world, for whatever reasons you have, I'm sure they are good to you. But I think overall it hurts. It hurts the overall industry.
All right. So typically, when it comes to introducing gaming, from my perspective, I feel like a majority of people um, who are willing to introduce gaming to people really only introduce it to younger people. Zero, like in the past 5 years, can you kind of think of any people you may have introduced gaming to that were kind of in your that were your peers essentially
No,
within your
you're
age range?
absolutely right. It's all younger people.
It's all younger people. Um, so and I think that's where the challenge kicks in. Is how do we introduce people that are in our age bracket to gaming because they can be a little bit more resistant than others, and it could be through a TV show like The Last of Us or The Witcher or Cyberpunk Edge Runner. And I also think it's a part of it, like you brought up, Ace Attorney versus L.A. Noir. While both games, share some similarities, for people who aren't gamers, art style might be very important. So photorealism versus anime art could play a dictating factor in whether or not they enjoy a game versus they may not even they might not even be able to get locked in onto the story because the art style doesn't fit what they're used to watching on TV. Um, but with that being said, I'm gonna give Jubei a chance to speak on this topic, and what are your thoughts, Jubei?
Um, it's our hobby, but we can't really gate it. Our hobby won't grow or get better if more people aren't involved in it. Like I have a very open-minded view as far as gaming. If you play Candy Crush on your phone, you're a gamer. You know what I mean? You don't have to sit here and play on a console. Like if you're just playing video games, it's really all that matters.
Yeah.
My biggest thing is like, a lot of my peers already play games, so it's kind of hard for people to be like, oh, let me introduce you to games. It's
Yeah.
always like me getting my daughter involved, things like that. As opposed, like I'm not in really introducing an adult to video games like that. It's either like you're either playing games already in some way, whether it's on your phone or
Yeah.
whatever. I do think we owe it to the hobby to just pause and battle. Like there's so many toxic spaces. Like it's like the sexism and all the negative connotations that come with playing games. We can definitely do better as far as that stigma and that stereotype about us. I guess it's like gaming should be for everybody that wants to. Like there's not really criteria. It doesn't matter what you're doing. It really shouldn't matter. Playing games and having fun. That's really all it should be.
And
That's all it should be about.
I don't think I think one aspect of gaming that we fail to get like people, especially in our peer group, to realize is um while there's a little bit more initial upfront cost, it is probably outside of buying a book, it is probably the most um cost effective or cost efficient entertainment um avenue you can pursue. I mean, you know, um uh you compare, buying a video game to going to a movie. How many movies would you have to go see to, get the same amount of story and content that you would get in a Final Fantasy 16. Um, so um, there's a lot of benefits to gaming and a lot of things that you get with gaming that you don't necessarily get with uh books or movies. I think there's a lot of things that would be attractive to non-gamers once they realize, um, every game doesn't require you to be this button master and you gotta, be amazing at everything. But I think one of the main hurdles that we have now is that people just don't um hang out together in common spaces as much, with the advent of internet, work from home, social media, um, people just see each other less and less, compared to previous years where, like I would see Zero like every 3 days, at one point in our life.
Yeah.
Like like legit. Like I would see him like pretty much about every 3 days at minimum, at like every other day. And those days are gone and we still live extremely close to one another. But we don't see each other that often. We might see each other every couple months now. Um, and I think a lot of that is just, we have a show like this now where, we still get to talk, once a week. And, if he decides that he wants to flip on his camera so I can see him, he can do that. Um, so, and then we also, if we decide to play a common video game, we can hop in that lobby. I mean, there's so many, back in the days, if you wanted to game together, you had to be together. Um, so, it's so many things now that we get to do as a collective community, um, together that we weren't able to do before without, without actually being present in the same physical space together. And I think that lack of being in the same physical space has kind of limited our reach to people who didn't play games before in some ways. Um, but yeah, I mean, I do think that, introducing people to gaming however you can is a great thing, whether it be, taking your kid to see the Mario movie or exposing a friend to a TV show or even exposing them to a mobile game. So a game like, for instance, Final Fantasy 7 is probably my favorite game. And now Final Fantasy 7 Ever Crisis is out. So if you own a cell phone, and I'm telling you about Final Fantasy 7, I can, be like, hey, my favorite story is Final Fantasy 7. So, and there's actually Ever Crisis. It pretty much tells the whole story, in a mobile game aspect. So you don't get the full aspect of the story. You don't get all the enriching details, but you get to see that, a lot of great, story elements when it comes to this game. So I would definitely recommend you check it out. Like we have that opportunity now. So I think we should talk about video games with people the same way that we talk about movies and TV shows, um, because they are getting more and more accessible than ever, especially now with the cloud integration into the TVs, the Apple iPhone 15 playing games natively. Um, people are having an opportunity to experience um, games or IP of games and in a wide variety of ways that was not possible before. So I hope that if you are a gamer and you are watching this, or even if you're not a gamer and you're hearing from us for the first time, man, there's plenty of great games to check out. There's plenty of different genres. They're not all story based. They're not all sports based. Some can be very simple. Some can be more challenging if that is your taste. But if we're really a fan of these games and we really think they're as great as they are, I do think we do have an obligation to pass it forward if we want to be able to enjoy it going forward in the same capacity that we do. Um, because these games are getting harder and more expensive to make, and if they don't have the support, um, we're ultimately going to see less and less of them, and it's going to impact how we're able to enjoy our hobbies. But yeah,
And I would say, just to add to that, just one thing before we sort of close out, like
from a gamer's perspective, remember, I think you have to come to people where they are
Yeah.
and bring them in, like how you can get to them.
Words
And
with
so, you know,
friends, Angry
it
Birds.
that's what I mean. It's like it might be hard to do. Even Mario sometimes is a bit difficult if it's not like the classic one people remember.
Yeah.
But there, you know, that Jackbox Party Pack is the perfect party game.
It really is. It's fun as shit.
Yeah, it like no one has it. Is does not take a lot for anybody to like gather out. It can be played through cell phones. Everybody can have a cell phone, and you just have a great time with folks doing stuff like that. You know, we live in a world where Among Us took off, where we had a Congressman ALC played Among Us with people live on TV. You just sort of gotta reach them.
Meet them
Sarah,
where they're
you said
at.
it earlier.
You gotta meet them where they're at. You gotta understand the genres. Like if they're your friend, you gotta understand what type of TV shows they like, what type of stories they like. Like you gotta understand if they like puzzle games. I mean, because I'm sure they play something. There's something that they do for entertainment. If they do puzzles or you have to understand the person that you're talking to, what they're interested in before you just decide to, throw some like. If I throw Dragon
Quest,
play
Cyberpunk.
Yeah. If I throw that onto somebody that doesn't, care about sci-fi or something like that, then it's probably not going to resonate with them. But if I'm talking about Cyberpunk Edge Runners, which I just happened to watch again this weekend, and someone's like, "Oh yeah, I watched that. It's a great show." Like, well, there's a video game, right? And it takes place in the exact same city, and Adam Smasher's in it, and yada. Oh yeah, word. And then maybe. I bless them with a copy of it. I got extra Xbox Series X if or it's available on cloud or whatever. I give them access to the game or something. That's a way of introducing it.
I feel kind of spoiled. Like, but a lot of my family members play games. My grandmother play games. My grandfather didn't, and my mom don't.
Yeah,
doesn't still. But like my aunts, like everybody plays games. So like it was nice to grow up in a family like that where like there was always a system in the house. Like, it's just a thing.
Well, I think more than introducing games to people, I think as a gamer, our responsibility is to kind of eliminate the stigma of what these games are. Like people have like certain perceptions of what games are and that they're too challenging or things like that. And there are some that present challenges, but not every game is built in that manner to present a challenge. Like, someone who's a Star Wars fan may not know that Jedi Survivor and Fallen Order, excuse me, they both have a storytelling mode. So basically, you get to play the game and do all the fighting and stuff without necessarily all the penalties that would, come in combat that you would experience playing in any of the other modes. So it just makes it more accessible to someone who doesn't consider themselves to be a hardcore gamer, but is a Star Wars fan.
Right.
So, and I'm sure they did the same thing with Hogwarts Legacy. Hogwarts Legacy introduced gaming to a bunch of people who were just strictly Harry Potter fans. There were a couple million people who bought a PlayStation or Xbox or got the game on the PC for their first time to experience something like Hogwarts Legacy because that's their first avenue towards experiencing something like that.
I mean, I've witnessed at least 7 couples that I'm aware of who at least one of the two had to play the game twice because it is the person who bought the game. They went through, they were Slytherin, they played through the Slytherin role, but their partner, their girlfriend, or their boyfriend is a Gryffindor. So they got played again as a Gryffindor and let them make all the choices that they would make or handle the controller if they want to do whatever. Like Hogwarts is the perfect one that like so many people bought it so many people played it who probably weren't gamers to start with.
Yeah.
But participated in it because it's Harry Potter. Like I gotta play as my house. I got to.
Yeah.
Like I just have to. There's no way I can't.
Meet people where they are at and get them into gaming because I mean it's a wonderful hobby and I mean there's a lot that that they can benefit from and we can benefit from on the back end of getting more games. So
And you know, there is, and then I'll end it because we should do this one day as well. But like, there are just games that people already know that are just digital. Like we can play Uno right now.
yeah,
We can play Spades right now. Monopoly, Risk, do that right now, and we don't have to get in person, but could meet once a week, as we do like now, and just play Monopoly or play Uno for like an hour or two.
yeah, and that's a way that is getting them into gaming. It all
Yeah.
counts. It all counts. I remember I downloaded Uno on my Xbox when it first launched on 360.
It's good. Ubisoft needs to fix their just like their back end because it will still crash a lot. But
Yeah.
and Monopoly has a real big problem if you leave. Sometimes if you leave during Monopoly game, say like you've already lost, like it'll freeze the whole game.
Texas Hold'em was really good too back in the day.
Yeah, like there's just so much you can just get to like, hey man, log on real quick. All right, trying to play some Uno. We can hop on Discord and just like chat it up and
Yeah.
just play some games for a little bit.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I definitely think, I definitely think there's an avenue to introducing more people, especially our peers, into gaming, and not just like, oh, it's a little kid, let's buy him a $500 console and a Game Pass subscription and let them get into gaming. I mean that works too, but um, I find it like kind of odd that like I can only talk with like 5 or 6 friends about certain type of games and stuff like that because all my other friends don't necessarily play games. But I can talk to all my friends about Fast and Furious 10, which absolutely sucks. But
First, calm down. Don't do that. Fast Furious 10 is amazing.
Amazing to
we don't have time to get into it. I'll make sure to bring it up next week. That'll be like what you've been doing. I've been watching Fast and Furious 10.
I mean, I'm not gonna think it's the worst movie ever, but it's the worst in the series. I'll say that much.
I'm gonna hold my feelings until next week. We're gonna talk about it. We're gonna talk about it.
Yeah,
I'm a hijack it with early Fast 10 talk.
Yeah, you can hijack. I mean, the only one that might be worse is Fast 2. But
Fast 4 is pretty bad.
I mean, I'm not gonna knock Fast 4 because it brought the characters back together. So, not the best, but yeah. To me, Fast 2 would probably be the worst of them all outside of 10. So, and it ends on a cliffhanger. So, for those who haven't seen it, because there's gonna be a Fast 10 2, which I think is stupid. But yeah. With that said, let's go ahead and hit the outros because we're starting to hit tangents now. Boom. All right. Jubei, where can people find you?
Yo, yeah, you can find me at Jubei X Sensei on gaming platforms, Jubei Sensei everywhere else, including Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, all that. Can't wait to move next week so I can
All
get
right.
back to playing.
All right.
My boss is about to go to work, so I will catch y'all next week.
All right. Jubei out. Zero, where can people find you? And more importantly, where can people find us?
Well, of course, guys, it's always an absolute pleasure hanging out with you in the chat and, of course, the people on the panel. Always love doing this, talking about video games. But you can find me, of course, 0x386 pretty much everywhere. Just playing games, man. Just that's all I'll be doing from here out for the next year or to the end of the year, playing games. But of course, more importantly than me, you can find us, Vitamin G Podcast, everywhere you listen to your favorite podcast. Still finishing up the Podbean stuff, but we're going to get back into that, so don't worry about that. But Google, YouTube, Spotify, Apple, we're there. Give us a like, comment, because as always, you could literally be doing anything else, but you decided to listen to us. So we will always appreciate that. So thank you and talk to you next time.
All right. And last but certainly not least, it's your boy Pharaoh. You can find me on Twitter at Pharaoh Bazard. And you can find me anywhere you like to watch streamers at the Land of Pharaoh. Our links are in the description. If you like the show today, please like, share, and subscribe. We greatly appreciate you guys' support. And thank you for coming through and getting your weekly dose of that vitamin G. We are out.
Looking in, and I wanna be back on the inside. I don't wanna be left on the outside, all alone.
Vitamin J, what you need? Vitamin J, got
All
what you need.
alone.
Vitamin J. Hey. You rockin' with beasts, discussing the heat in the streets. Take over the west and the east. I got what you need, a dose of this vitamin G. You rockin' with beasts, discussing the heat in the streets. Take over